Right now, as you're watching this video, there's a 73% chance your employer is using artificial intelligence to monitor your digital footprint. Your keystrokes, mouse movements, email patterns, and even the tone of your voice in virtual meetings are being analyzed by algorithms that know more about your work habits than you do. The question isn't whether workplace surveillance exists, it's how deep it goes and what you can do about it. The modern workplace has become a digital panopticon, where every click, pause, and productivity metric is captured, analyzed, and stored. What started as simple time-tracking software has evolved into sophisticated AI systems that can predict employee behavior, identify potential security risks, and even determine who's likely to quit before they know it themselves. Let's start with what's actually happening behind the scenes. Employee monitoring software has exploded into a multi-billion-dollar industry, with companies like Hubstaff, TimeDoctor, and Terramind leading the charge. These platforms don't just track when you're at your desk. They capture screenshots at random intervals, monitor application usage, track website visits, and analyze productivity patterns in real time. But here's where it gets interesting. Modern AI doesn't just collect data, it interprets it. Machine learning algorithms analyze your typing patterns to detect stress levels, monitor email sentiment to gauge employee satisfaction, and even use facial recognition to determine if you're paying attention during video calls. Some systems can identify unusual behavior patterns that might indicate insider threats, or predict which employees are flight risks based on subtle changes in their digital behavior. The technology is more sophisticated than most people realize. Keystroke dynamics analysis can identify individual employees with 99% accuracy just by how they type. Eye tracking software built into webcams can determine what you're actually looking at on your screen. Voice analysis AI can detect emotional states, stress levels, and engagement during calls. Even your mouse movement patterns create a unique digital fingerprint that can be tracked across sessions. Companies justify this surveillance by pointing to legitimate concerns. Remote work has made traditional supervision methods obsolete, and businesses need ways to ensure productivity and security. Employee theft costs companies billions annually, and insider threats represent one of the most significant security risks organizations face. From a business perspective, AI monitoring provides valuable insights into workflow optimization, resource allocation, and risk management. The financial incentives are compelling. Companies report productivity increases of 20 to 30% after implementing comprehensive monitoring systems. They can identify bottlenecks in workflows, optimize resource allocation, and reduce time theft. For organizations handling sensitive data, AI monitoring provides crucial security layers that traditional methods can't match. However, the psychological impact on employees is profound and often underestimated. Constant surveillance creates what researchers call digital stress, a persistent state of anxiety that comes from knowing you're being watched. Studies show that excessive monitoring can actually decrease productivity, increase turnover, and damage employee morale. The very tools designed to improve performance can create a culture of distrust that undermines the collaborative relationships essential for innovation. The legal landscape surrounding workplace surveillance is complex and rapidly evolving. In the United States, employers generally have broad rights to monitor employees on company-owned devices and networks. However, state laws vary significantly, and some jurisdictions require explicit consent or disclosure for certain types of monitoring. The European Union's GDPR has stricter requirements, mandating that surveillance be proportionate, necessary, and transparent. The key legal principle is reasonable expectation of privacy. On company equipment, using company networks, during work hours, employees typically have limited privacy expectations. However, this becomes murky when discussing personal devices, home networks, or monitoring that extends beyond work hours. Some AI systems can inadvertently capture personal information, creating potential liability issues for employers. Employee rights vary by location, but generally include the right to be informed about monitoring, the right to access collected data, and in some cases, the right to request deletion of personal information. Many jurisdictions require employers to have legitimate business reasons for surveillance and to use the least intrusive methods necessary to achieve their goals. The technology itself raises additional concerns. AI systems can exhibit bias, leading to unfair treatment of certain employee groups. Pattern recognition algorithms might flag normal behavior as suspicious based on incomplete or biased training data. False positives can damage employee reputations and careers, while false negatives might miss actual security threats. Privacy advocates argue that comprehensive workplace surveillance creates a chilling effect on employee autonomy and creativity. When people know they're being monitored, they tend to conform to perceived expectations rather than taking risks or thinking creatively. This can stifle innovation and create workplace cultures focused on compliance rather than excellence. So what can you do to protect yourself? First, understand your rights. Read your employee handbook carefully and ask HR about monitoring policies. Many companies are required to disclose their surveillance practices, though the details might be buried in dense legal language. If you're in a jurisdiction with strong privacy laws, familiarize yourself with your specific rights and protections. Consider your digital hygiene carefully. Assume that everything you do on company devices or networks is being monitored. Keep personal activities strictly separate from work systems. Use your personal phone for personal calls, your personal email for personal correspondence, and avoid mixing work and personal data on any device. If you're concerned about excessive monitoring, document your observations and consider discussing them with HR or your manager. Many companies are open to feedback about surveillance policies, especially if employees raise legitimate concerns about privacy or the impact on workplace culture. Frame your concerns in terms of productivity and employee satisfaction rather than simply objecting to monitoring. For those in leadership positions, the challenge is balancing legitimate business needs with employee privacy and morale. Best practices include being transparent about monitoring policies, using the least intrusive methods necessary, focusing on outcomes rather than activity, and regularly reviewing surveillance practices to ensure they remain proportionate and effective. The future of workplace monitoring will likely involve even more sophisticated AI systems. Predictive analytics will become more accurate. Biometric monitoring will become more common. And the line between personal and professional digital lives will continue to blur. However, this technological evolution will also spark greater awareness of privacy rights and potentially stronger legal protections for employees. The conversation about workplace surveillance isn't just about technology. It's about the kind of workplace culture we want to create. Organizations that use monitoring tools thoughtfully, transparently, and in conjunction with trust-building measures tend to see better outcomes than those that rely solely on surveillance. The most successful companies will be those that leverage AI monitoring to support and empower employees rather than simply watching them. Smart employees will adapt by becoming more intentional about their digital behavior while advocating for reasonable privacy protections. This might mean negotiating monitoring policies during the hiring process, joining employee resource groups focused on workplace rights, or simply being more mindful about digital security and privacy practices. The workplace of the future will undoubtedly involve more AI monitoring, not less. But it doesn't have to be a dystopian surveillance state. By staying informed about your rights, understanding the technology, and engaging constructively with employers about privacy concerns, You can help shape a future where AI monitoring serves everyone's interests rather than creating an atmosphere of distrust and fear. Knowledge is power, and in the age of AI workplace surveillance, understanding what's happening behind the scenes is your first line of defense. The technology isn't inherently good or bad. It's a tool that can be used wisely or poorly. Your awareness, advocacy, and active participation in these conversations will help determine which direction we go. The future of work is being written right now, and you have a voice in that story. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember that your privacy and autonomy are worth protecting. Like and subscribe to KB Bluetree for more insightful content that helps you navigate the complex intersection of technology, privacy, and workplace rights in our rapidly evolving digital world.